Hey guys, today I want to do something a little bit different actually and break down my net worth at 24 years old. There's a couple reasons why I wanted to do this. One, we're coming to the end of the year, 2025 is right around the corner, and I think it would be fun to, at the end of each year, update you guys on my personal finance progress, where I'm at, just to check in, see how I'm doing. I like watching these videos personally. I love to hear from other people talk about their finances, what they've been doing well, what their mistakes have been. So hopefully I can learn and implement those into my own personal finance strategy. Another reason I want to do it is simply because I think talking about personal finances is somewhat taboo. I don't know how you grew up, but the way I grew up, it was pretty taboo to talk about finances with other people, especially outside of the family. And I think a lot of people are raised like that. And I think it's actually more detrimental than it is good. Because people aren't talking about finances, they aren't able to learn about their finances. When they get to adulthood, I don't think they know how to handle finances that well. And that's what you see causes these financial problems for a lot of people. They just start piling on debt. They don't know how to invest, all those sorts of issues. And I think that could be easily avoided if we were more open talking about our finances. Yeah, so I think it's actually a really, really good force for good. Some people may disagree, and if you do, I don't really care. You can have your opinion, I'll have mine, but I like talking about personal finances. And with that, I also want to give a disclaimer. I know not everybody's personal finance situation is the same, where they start is not the same. And I acknowledge I have a very, very blessed life to be in the financial situation I am in, which isn't like the most insane financial situation you've ever seen, but I know there are a significant amount of people with less money than me. There's a significant amount of people my age with more money than me. And so I'm just doing this to share where I'm at. But again, I hope this doesn't come off as bragging. I just want to put that disclaimer out there. And yeah, and I think it would be useful to get a little bit of background on me before we jump in. Where I'm at, I'm currently 24 years old. I'm about 2 years out of college now. I've been working for an accounting firm for roughly a year and a half. In that time, I got a decent pay raise simply because of the way my firm updated how they compensate their employees, which obviously was very, very welcomed by me and my coworkers. So that was a big change in my finances within the last few months. And with that, what you're going to notice is I actually have a very simple financial structure. I don't have kids. I'm not married, so I don't have any of those financial complications. I'm also very, very lucky that right now I am living with my parents at home, trying to save as much money as I can, invest as much money as I can. I don't see this going on for too much longer, maybe another year or so. I live in the Southern California area, which if you know anything about real estate, you know it's very expensive to live here. And ultimately, my goal would be to stay here if I can afford it. And so right now, I'm really just trying to save up as much as I can to hopefully down the line be able to afford a house here. I don't see that happening anytime soon. Maybe 5 years from now, that will happen. I don't know. We'll see. But while I'm living at home, trying to make the most of my situation, save as much money as possible, while also still enjoying a little bit of life. I think if you've got the means for it, I think you should try to enjoy your money a little bit. You're making money to spend it too. So I wouldn't recommend just hoarding it all. But that's where I'm at currently at my stage of life. And now with that, let's jump into it. So the way I'm going to be doing this is I'm going to break down both my assets and liabilities by account. And on the liability side, it's very, very simple. I have zero liabilities. I don't have any student loans. I don't have credit card debt. I don't have a car loan. I don't have a mortgage. So all those things, it's just a big fat zero, which I'm very, very blessed to say. I think this is what is allowing me to save as much money as I do on top of living at home. And I recognize that's a very, very fortunate situation to be in. So I'm very blessed. I know that. But with that, that's my liability side. On the asset side, I think is where it gets interesting. And with that, the first account I have is my checking and savings account. And I'm going to break this down into two parts. One, my emergency fund, and two, my regular checking and savings unrestricted account. And the reason I do that is I've got an emergency fund that I've set up aside to not be touched whatsoever unless there's a real emergency. And it just sits there in the high yield savings account, which I have with SoFi, which earns roughly 4% right now. Interest rates have been dropping, so it's been going down a bit, but that's where it's currently paying out at. And I just leave my money there and I don't touch it. And I don't plan on touching it. Hopefully I never need to touch it. Hopefully I've got enough money to always cover myself and never need to touch it, but it's there if I need it. And that emergency fund amount is $15,000. For my current life, that's roughly almost 6 months worth of expenses. So that I can set aside. I'm not touching it. And yeah. Now the other side of my checking and savings account is what I'm calling my unrestricted cash. And that amount is $18,443.86. And I'm calling that unrestricted because that's the stuff I can use to spend on anything. And I actually think it's a little bit high. Personally, I don't think I need more than $15,000 in this bucket simply because I don't spend all that much money. I don't have that many expenses. Of that 18,000, I foresee spending a couple thousand of it on an upcoming trip I'm going to plan. So I'm expecting that drop down a couple thousand. But outside of that, I think I could probably move another few grand out of that into my investment account, simply because I don't have many big purchases coming up. I'm not buying a car, I'm not buying a house, anything like that soon. So I think I can move that out into an investment account where I hopefully could earn higher returns. I'm not sure if I will, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But I haven't changed that yet. So for right now, it's showing in my checking and savings account. Again, this is in SoFi, which is earning me roughly 4%. But yeah, that brings me to a total for my checking and savings account of $33,443.86. Now, my next asset that I have is actually my car, which is a 2020 Honda Civic hatchback. And luckily, I don't have a car loan that goes along with this, so it's all just on the asset side. And that amount I put at $22,000. I'm not looking to sell my car anytime soon, but when looking online just using Kelley Blue Book, I found I could roughly get anywhere between like $21,500 and $23,500. I've gone a little bit conservative, put it down at $22,000, even though the car is in good condition. I just think that's what I could sell it for if I wanted to in the next few days. But yeah, obviously it's a car, it's a depreciating asset, so this will actually go down. Maybe by the time you watch this video next year, and if I do an update, you'll probably see this amount be less, and that's simply because cars depreciate over time. But for me, in my personal situation, great car, got everything I need. It's a Honda, so usually very reliable cars. Hopefully I can drive it for a long time. Yeah. And moving on, I've got my 401k retirement account, which is done through my employer. And I've been contributing to this for the past year and a half since I started working. This whole time I've been contributing 15% of my income towards retirement. As I mentioned earlier, I got a little bit of a pay raise, so I've been able to actually increase the amount I've been contributing, but still that same 15% of my income. And so the amount currently sitting in there is $11,375.63. Now, of that amount, $380.24 is actually employer contribution, which isn't vested yet. And this $380, my employer doesn't match actually until after your first year of working at the company, so it just started somewhat relatively recently. Now I'm subtracting that from my total net worth simply because it's unvested, and if I left the firm today, I wouldn't get to keep that money. Now, if you net my total amount with my unvested employer contribution amount, I actually have $10,995.39 in my 401k account. So hopefully this will just keep growing over time and keep going. And yeah. Moving on, we've got my last account, which is my traditional brokerage account. Now for this account, I use Robinhood, which I know some people may not like simply because of some of the things they've done in the past, which I looked into it and I decided I don't really care about it. If you care about it, don't use Robinhood. I'm not endorsing them. It's just what I use. You can use whatever you want. But I like the interface. I think it's simple to use. I think it makes investing great for beginners. And for where I'm at right now, it's all I need. So with that, in my Robinhood account, I have $10,385.19, which obviously fluctuates day by day. But as of right now, that's where it sits. Now that amount is pretty much all invested in a few ETFs, and that's simply because of the way my company works, the type of work they do. We aren't allowed to invest in individual stocks from certain companies. And so for simplicity's sake, I just keep it in ETFs that track the market. I think generally for most people, this is the best idea because it diversifies your portfolio, brings down the risk of losing all your money because you're invested in lots of different companies instead of just all your money in one company. But you do what you want with your investing. Make sure you do your due diligence. Don't just take advice from some random person on the internet. And with that, it takes my total net worth to $76,824.44. Now, I think for somebody my age, that's pretty great. Obviously, there's people my age that have way, way more money. There's people who have way, way less money. But that's where I currently stand. I think I'm on a good track. I'm just going to keep saving money, investing, trying to keep my expenses the same for as long as I can. And yeah, hopefully next year you'll get an update and you'll see this is a larger amount. That's the goal. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I hope you found it interesting. I know I certainly find these types of videos interesting. If you enjoyed it, please do consider subscribing. But with that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.